The Tech on Demand podcast brought to you by Grower Talks. Audio Files, Episode 69, Paying for That Efficiency Upgrade. From the summer 2025 issue of Inside Grower magazine, written by David KUACK, narrated by Bill CALKINS. Paying for that efficiency upgrade. When it comes to lowering operation costs for controlled environment growers, energy and labor are top of mind. The cost of labor is expected to continue to increase as the availability, hiring, and retention of reliable workers becomes more challenging. The cost of energy, regardless of whether it's electricity, natural gas, fuel oil, or propane, will likely continue to increase. Growers, regardless of where they're located, are expected to have to deal with increasing weather unpredictability. For these reasons, more growers are looking for ways to improve the energy efficiency of their facilities. Improved efficiency opportunities. Typically, higher energy-efficient equipment for controlled environment operations is more expensive up front, said Bob Gunn, who's CEO at Synergy LLC and a certified energy manager. But this equipment can save growers money within a couple years by lowering electricity costs. Synergy was inspired when I was working at an electric utility. I was in charge of evaluating electricity efficiency programs and gaining an understanding of why utilities, whether they are municipal or investor-owned, invest in energy efficiency. Starting Synergy, Bob was able to connect growers to their electric utilities. They could have conversations around energy management and ultimately invest in energy efficiency projects and receive grants for those projects. I was surprised to discover the underlying drive for supporting energy efficiency is cost, he said. Creating new sources and infrastructure for electricity is expensive. Ratepayers and utilities both pay less over time by investing in projects that use less electricity. I wanted to help bridge that gap. He noted his company knows how to look at the energy side of the puzzle and identify financial solutions to invest in technical solutions. They can identify opportunities such as upgrading HVAC equipment or installing grow lights or energy screens to make an investment and can go to a utility or USDA for a grant to pay for the improvements. Many of the growers Synergy works with are introduced through equipment manufacturers. Synergy has been aligning itself with manufacturers, educating them about the utility incentives and rebates. USDA grants and carbon-funded grants, Bob said. The grants and rebates exist to help offset the usually higher cost of energy-efficient equipment. In many cases, these grants and rebates become a part of the manufacturer's sales presentations. Program variability among or within states. Bob said some states are rebate incentive friendly and others don't offer many incentives, regardless of whether the crop is vegetables, ornamentals, or cannabis. States like Washington, Oregon, Massachusetts, and New York are very energy efficiency focused and grower friendly, he said. At the utility level, they're budgeting with rebates going back to businesses and consumers. There are also some markets where indoor horticulture is a new sector, and utility company representatives don't understand the concept of using energy-efficient equipment, especially grow lights, for plant production. In these cases, we have to walk some of these utility companies through the production process and the application of this equipment and how it can save electricity. Rob Hannafin, commercial product specialist at Ritter, said because of the variation in incentives and rebates programs, growers should contact their utility providers. In the case of energy screens, particularly if a greenhouse is using natural gas, they should reach out to their gas provider, Rob said. Growers can check their provider's website to see if there are energy efficiency programs and if there are any specific ones for greenhouse operations. If a provider doesn't have a program specific to greenhouses, ask if they have a custom program. I've worked with growers who've had success with custom programs. If a utility doesn't have a set program for energy screens, it may have a program for installing an energy-efficient boiler or upgrading heating and cooling systems. Rob added if a utility offers a custom option, growers may have to provide some documentation regarding what specific purpose and benefits energy-efficient equipment could provide. In many cases, utility companies will likely be aware of any state-run programs, he said. Also, growers need to be aware that rebate programs can vary between utility providers within the same state. Bob said in some states, rebates from utility companies are starting to plateau. I'm witnessing state by state and even by utility regulatory jurisdictions that energy codes are catching up to the market, he said. When the energy codes increase, they squeeze out rebates. the difference in efficiency becomes smaller as the baseline or the minimum efficiency rises. One example is California, which enacted Title 24 of the California Code or Regulations, which eliminated a lot of utility rebates by requiring efficiency to be the standard, he said, taking advantage of state and federal programs. The Chef's Garden, a multi-generational family farm in Huron, Ohio, has had success working with both state and federal agencies to receive grants for energy-efficient improvements. The company grows both field and controlled environment vegetables that are sold primarily to restaurants nationwide. We've been fortunate in that we're currently working on our third USDA REAP, which is Rural Energy for America program, project, said Bob Jones Jr., who's co-founder and CEO of the company. The reason we got involved with USDA was that we could not have privately financed the entirety of any of these projects on our own. We had to find alternative methods of financing. We spent quite a bit of time studying the intention behind REAP, studying the mission and vision of USDA, and specifically of REAP and the projects it's funded. This has been a great help in writing REAP project applications. For the REAP projects, we have used a grant writer who's helped with the proposals. He also worked with the Ohio Department of Development and Jobs Ohio to receive money for these projects. The company used state funding to purchase 2 biomass boilers and induction lighting. Biofuel boilers and biomass renewable energy were something that was important to USDA back in 2017 when we received the REAP grant for the project, Bob Jones Jr. said. We tried to really fit hand in glove to what USDA's mission was at the time. USDA's mission changes subtly about what the agency is concentrating on or what is its hot button at the moment. We try to make ourselves fit into that mission. At that time, biomass boilers were a major focus for the agency. For our current renewable energy solar array project, we're stacking funding. We didn't know about stacking funding prior to this project. Applying to numerous agencies came from years of preparing these proposals. One of the state agencies we applied to was Jobs Ohio. This project is creating and retaining jobs, enabling us to receive funding for that. The agency suggested that we consider stacking funding by utilizing multiple funding sources. Bob Jones Jr. said growers should also not overlook tax credits that may be available for actions like using U.S.-made steel and building in an energy enterprise zone. Perseverance pays off. In addition to financing the REAP projects before receiving reimbursement from USDA, Bob Jones Jr. said the most significant cost of the grant proposals is time. It's an opportunity cost. What else could I have or should I have been working on that I didn't work on because I was working on the project applications, he said. This can be a problem for smaller operations where there are usually less people involved in the business. He admitted that he's failed on more grant applications than he's been awarded grants too, but ultimately it's still worth the effort. The funding is out there. I believe our competition is going to take advantage of it if we don't. The government never gives away its money. It gives us some of our money back, and that's what these grants are. If we don't take advantage of them, shame on us. The end. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Audio Files from the Tech on Demand podcast brought to you by Grower Talks. Please take a minute to leave us a positive review. It'll help us reach more greenhouse, garden center, and CEA professionals.